Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankum. This is going to be a fun one today. We're going to be talking about Steve Carell movies. And I've got a bunch of great people here. Got Brian. Brian, how's it going?
Good. Great to be back here talking with Steve Carell with a great panel.
Also here we've got Jacob. Jacob, how's it going?
It is going well. I'm excited to talk about Steve Carell. I don't think I haven't watched his bad movies, so I'm ready to keep it mostly positive tonight.
Also we've got Aaron. Aaron, how's it going?
I have seen some of the bad ones. You're not missing much. Happy to be here, man. Always happy to do this. By that I mean I've seen the Despicable Me sequels, but
They're all not that bad. So
Last but not least, we got Chad. Chad, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. Mostly a big Office fan, as you can tell, but I also really dig his movie, so excited to talk about it.
Unfortunately, they still haven't released that documentary of The Office, so that doesn't count for this. But
long movie, technically.
But that being said, how Rankin works, we go around the panel and each nominate a Steve Carell movie who belongs on top 12 list. And if it gets majority yes votes, then it makes it or not. But Brian, was the first movie you're going to bring up?
for me, I'm going to pick up his breakout role in The For-Your Virgin. I mean, when you think of Steve Carell, you think of Michael Scott, or people think that he wouldn't carry a movie, but he did a great rom-com, and his chemistry with Paul Rudd, Rodney Marco, Seth Rogen is great. So For Your Virgin is my pick.
Jacob, what do you say about 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah, this one's an obvious yes. I think it's easily one of his most memorable movies, and for good reason. It's got some quotable lines. He's got good chemistry with all the other cast members, and when you commit to a role the way he did, just for that waxing scene alone, I mean, you got to honor him for that. Come on.
Aaron, what do you say about 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 40-Year-Old Virgin's an incredible film. As somebody who's only halfway to being a 40-year-old virgin, I can relate to this movie heavily. It's got heart. It's got great supporting performances. Yeah, absolutely.
And Chad, what do you say about 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah, since it seems to be almost like unanimous, I'm fine with kind of being semi-dissenting vote here. Just really not my style of comedy. Although I do recognize that it was like something that really like broke him out into the film game. So I respect it for that, even though it's not super my style. But I might have still gave it a slight yes because of it's like iconic. So.
But yeah, I mean, I like 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like, I know there's a lot of people when it comes to Judd Apatow movies that there's a lot of criticisms that they're too long. But 40-Year-Old Virgin is one of those ones that I do think is good. Like it was only a year before this another movie which may or may not come up. Yeah, and I also found out that he was in Curly Sue. When I was doing this research, I didn't realize he's been that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
But that being said, Jacob, what is the first movie you're going to bring up?
I'll bring up Crazy Stupid Love. I think this is a really solid Steve Carell movie. He's again surrounded by a pretty good cast here, and he's got good chemistry with them. I love like him and Ryan Gosling. I was drawing a blank on his name for a moment. I think they work really well together, and I think it's just a really great movie. I easily rewatchable in my opinion, and one of his better movies. So I'll go with Crazy Stupid Love.
Chad, what do you say about Crazy Stupid Love?
Okay,
Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron, what do you say about Crazy Stupid Love?
Well, now I want to know what Chad has to say. I'm going to be left in suspense.
You'll find out.
Yes. This movie has a lot of charm with it. Carell and Gosling almost have better chemistry than Gosling and Stone, except less sexual, or maybe more sexual, depending on how you look at it. No, this movie is great. This movie to me is a great example of just a group of great actors getting together and just getting to really bounce off each other. It's a very like dialogue driven movie, so you're just getting to see a lot of personality shine from these different actors, and I think it really works in this film.
Chad, what do you say about Crazy Stupid Love?
It's weird because like you think there's going to be a lot more Gosling Stone in the movie, and it's actually really not that big of a part of the movie at all until like kind of the end. I think the only like kind of negatives I have this movie is that like I feel like it's weirdly edited. It's just something big I noticed. I'm like, why is that there? Why is this there? But other than that, I think there's a great movie in there that I really still enjoy watching, despite those semi-negatives. They're kind of nitpicks, basically. I do love the chemistry between like basically all the characters, and that kid that's just like really smart and just like doting after his babysitter's kind of hilarious. But yeah, like there's a lot of fun to be had in this movie, and I love how they show Carell go from being the the guy that's just crying at the bar to being like the ladies' man that he ends up being at one point. And Marissa Tomei is crazy as hell in this movie. So, Crazy Stupid Love's great. I say yes.
Yeah, it's crazy and stupid how much I love this movie. But yeah, Crazy Stupid Love is one of those movies that I didn't know what to expect when I saw this, but this is definitely a charming movie. I think Steve Carell is great in this, so I'm going to say yes as well. Brian, what do you have to say about Crazy Stupid Love?
I'm giving it a yes. It's in my top 128 films of all time.
Aaron, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay. Here, I'll just continue shooting for what I think are obvious ones. I'll go with The Big Short. I think this is probably the pinnacle of Adam McKay's career, because I think it's the perfect mix of the comedy that he mastered early on in his career and the drama that he's attempted to go for over the last couple of years. I feel like his last two films have sort of been a continuous dip from there. But I like that this movie is basically kind of 4 mini movies in one, each Bale, Gosling, Carell, and sort of Brad Pitt. He's the least of the 4. They all kind of get their own storylines, and you get to see very specified different angles of how the economic crash affected America. And I like how, even though they're all separated, they all tie together because it's kind of just this one continuous experience that everyone can relate to. So I think it's a really well-crafted film.
Chad, what do you say about The Big Short?
I freaking love Adam McKay. I love his just like straight up comedies, and I love his like drama movies that are also just actually they're actually just comedies. The Big Short is hilarious, very serious. It's a cautionary tale, but it's like, hey, this is what happened. Everything is fucked up. The people in charge are just basically children. Here's Margot Robbie in a bubble bath to explain it. There's just like so much with this movie that it really, really hit me and explained the movie in such an entertaining way, because I had heard people say that this movie was boring. And then I'm like, this movie is like the opposite of boring, because it feels like Adam McKay is like the good teacher in school. That's like, I know a lot of the subject material is really boring, but here's a bunch of interesting ways and funny ways to actually like explain it to you so that you can understand it and have a good time while doing it. It took me a very long time to actually get to this movie. I watched it specifically for this because I was like, all right, it's damn time I actually watched The Big Short finally. And I adore this movie. So yes, for sure.
The Big Short is one I rewatched for this. Just to sort of refresh my memory about how much I think this is a good movie. It's one of those ones because I think Adam McKay is really good at blending drama and comedy together, and this is just one of those ones I think definitely was. I think Steve Carell's performance in this is great as well. But yeah, Big Short gets used for me. Brian, what do you say about The Big Short?
This is one Steve Carell film I haven't seen yet, so I'll give it a no.
Jacob, what do you say about The Big Short?
I say I'm about an hour and 20 minutes into it. I started watching it earlier today. After the kids I was babysitting today left, they left a little later than planned, so I wasn't able to watch the whole movie. But what I watched, like I said, I'm about an hour and 20 minutes into it, is great, and I cannot wait to finish it. I think, like Aaron said, it is a good like blend of 4 mini movies, and I think I'm at the point where like 2 of them are going to start, maybe intermingling. So I'm excited to finish it. What I saw was great, and I can tell that this is easily one of Steve Carell's best. So I'm gonna give it like a 75% yes, because I've only seen 75% of the movie.
It makes it with 3.75 yes. But
For
Chad
was those kids would have loved Margot Robbie in the bubble bath.
I mean, who wouldn't?
I'm sure if the 10-year-old wasn't on his Nintendo Switch the whole time.
But Chad, what's the next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, the first movie that I thought that I had to bring up is my favorite movie that Steve Carell is in. This is a movie that was nominated for Best Picture, and in my opinion, I know this is a hot take for a lot of people. My opinion, this should have won. It's Little Miss Sunshine. I think this was the best movie of that year. I do love Martin Scorsese. I don't love The Departed. I think Little Miss Sunshine was a lot better. I know it's a hot take, but I think I just love like the journey that they take to go to basically take this little girl to a beauty pageant. And, you just get introduced to all of these characters. I'm a big Paul Dano fan, and, this is one of his early roles. And to see him basically be like, just kind of the kid that all he wants to do is, in life is just be like a fighter pilot or whatever in the military. And then he learns that he's colorblind and he can't go. And there's just a brilliant scene with that. Steve Carell is basically confronting being gay and just a lot of stuff with that. Kind of a different kind of role for Steve Carell to do, which I thought was really interesting. The spoiler alert, the grandfather dies during the trip, and they got to figure that out. It's really insane. So, sorry, Jacob. Anyways, it's a really insane movie, but I said spoiler. He could have did this. But no, yeah, it's a very fun movie, very emotional movie, and I just really love this one. So Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah, I also really do love Little Miss Sunshine. I did rewatch this for me. I mean, personally, out of the movies that were nominated this year, while I do like The Departed, I actually think The Queen should have won in this year. The Queen
okay.
with Helen, yeah. So I think
it.
that was a great movie, but that also doesn't have Steve Carell in it either. But Little Miss Sunshine is a great movie, and I think this is even though this is a comedy, this is probably the least comedic Steve Carell was. One of the first time sort of he was kind of not as comedic
Dramatic.
as he. Yeah, I mean. His performance in this was any more dramatic, even though the movie was more of a comedy. It's hard to explain really, but I think Little Miss Sunshine is great. I rewatched it for this and had a lot of fun with it, just again. But yeah, it gets yes for me. Brian, what do you say about Little Miss Sunshine?
I'll give it a yes as well. We watched it a few years ago, and I quite enjoyed it. I love his performance, so yes for me.
Jacob, what do you say about Little Miss Sunshine?
Yeah, I'll give it a yes as well. It's one of my just personal favorite movies.
Liar.
I really enjoy it. I think Alan Arkin rightfully won his Best Supporting Actor award for this role. I think he was great. Steve Carell, he was really good performance. I mean, solid performances all around. The screenplay was fantastic as well. It won Best Original Screenplay. So the Oscars got something right for the movie. As far as Best Picture winner, I might have gone with Letters from Iwo Jima, but that's a discussion for another time. as far as Little Miss Sunshine, I do think it's one of the better Steve Carell movies, so I will give it a yes.
But I mean, maybe it's an episode of Pitch the List for a future, for a future episode of Chad's show.
Yeah,
But
coming.
Aaron,
Well, in terms of continuing the Best Picture debate, I would pick the other film that was nominated that year because we've named 4 of them. I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to pick that one.
Oh, so Babel.
Which one was it?
Babel.
Oh, I
Babel.
think it's a good film. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. No problem. No, all I have to say about this movie, since I think you guys summarized it perfectly, is the movie is a perfect blend of comedy and drama, or one of the most perfect blends. And more than anything that kind of, as my phone rings, more than anything that goes on in the middle of the movie, I would say where you know that it blends is for everything that this movie does. It ends with like a 6-year-old dancing to Super Freak, and it like nothing feels out of place, nothing's jarring. Well, I mean, I guess from watching a 6-year-old dance to Super Freak, if you enjoyed that, I'd question yourself a little bit. But no, it's a great film.
Yeah, and shout out to Abigail Breslin for getting nominated at the Oscars too for her performance.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Good on her.
I mean, in my opinion, she should have got best supporting actress for that over Jennifer Hudson, but that's once again debate for another day. But that being said, for my first nomination, there's a few obvious ones that I want to bring up, but I'm going to go for one that I know Jacob's seen because we watched it on the exact same day. I'm bringing up Beautiful Boy. Look, this is one of those movies that's not an easy watch at all. This is probably one of Steve Carell's first full-on dramatic performance. When it wasn't fused with comedy and all that, and I think this was a really sweet movie. But it does it deals with the themes of like suicide and all that. But I think it's one of those movies which hit with me, especially when you see sort of the father-son dynamic throughout the movie, where they do have it has strained because of a drug addiction and all that, but I think they dealt with all that perfectly. I think Steve Carell does really good at going full on dramatic. I mean, I think it's a rite of passage at this stage. I think it's a rite of passage for every comedian to try to do a dramatic role at some point in their career, because I think just every comedian has done at least one now. But Brian, what to say about Beautiful Boy?
This is another one that I haven't seen, so I'll yield my vote.
Jacob, what do you say about Beautiful Boy?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I really enjoyed this. I really liked this movie. I'm not sure if enjoy is the proper term to use for this movie because it is a hard watch, but performances in it are great from Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet. I mean, like, you absolutely feel for the kid and you understand where Steve Carell is coming from as a father who, you know, he wants to help his kid. He wants to help his son, but you know, as the journey goes and as the addiction, you know, gets stronger, like at some point you just gotta let go and you gotta say no, and it's heartbreaking. And I think Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet both portrayed their characters extremely well. I think that final shot of Timothée Chalamet, just spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, just him laying on the bathroom floor, and that's how it ends. Like it's heartbreaking, but it is so good, and it is worth at least one watch. I don't know if I would call this a rewatchable Steve Carell movie, but it's so good, and I really liked it, so I'm gonna give it a yes.
Aaron, what do you say about Beautiful Boy?
Unfortunately, I have not seen it, although by the way Jacob talks about it, I might need to, so I'll have to pass.
It is on Amazon Prime.
Oh, well, this is accessible. Thank you.
And Chad, what do you say about Beautiful Boy?
And that's exactly how I watched it. I watched it just today for this, just to see, because I had started like 20 minutes of it like a long time ago, like a first came on streaming or whatever, and I stopped for whatever reason. And then I started again, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to end up being a great movie. I don't think it ended up being a great movie, but I do think it's a really good movie. I think the strongest parts are the acting and the music. The soundtrack is excellent in this. And then I'm like, wait, Steve Carell like works for Rolling Stone in this. I was like, no freaking wonder. But yeah, it does a really good job, I think, at showing just how tough it is to, I don't want to say deal with somebody with addiction, but to care for someone who, is addicted to something, and then you just don't know how to help them because they're like a lot of the times unwilling to help themselves because it's such a hard thing to kick. And I just think the performances all around, there's like, that one scene where like, he gets off the phone with Timothy Chalamet, and you just like see him just welling up with tears, and it didn't feel like, I'm trying to go out for an Oscar. It just felt really real. So I think Steve Carell did a really good job. And I also love Jack Dylan Glazer a lot as the younger version of Timothy Chalamet. Banging his head away to Nirvana in the car. That's something that I would love to do any old time. So, it's hard because there's still a lot I want to get on there, but I really do think this is a fitting entry for the list. So I'll say yes.
Yeah. Yep. And talking about movies that should have been nominated for an Oscar, the fact this wasn't nominated is a crime. And Steve got Green Book, Black Panther, Black Klansman, but even actually their favorite, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice. Eddie, I could have swapped 5 of those out to get Beautiful Boy.
I like Vice though. That was a good one.
2018 was just an underwhelming year.
I mean, we can all agree it's better than Green Book.
And completely unrelated to performances, I think this movie was well edited as well. Like just kind of the flashbacks and how they just like, intertwine some of these scenes together. Like it had
a very good "This Is Us" feel to it at parts.
I don't understand that reference because I haven't seen the show.
Great show. Check it out.
But with that being said, Brian, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Speaking of Vice, that's my next nomination. His role as Donald Rumsfeld in Vice, a role that he's not that in that much, but he perfectly encapsulated Donald Rumsfeld. And this is one of my favorite portrayals of him in Java, so that's my pick for Vice.
Jacob, what do you say about Vice?
I have not seen Vice.
Aaron, what do you say about Vice?
I'd probably say yes, just barely. I honestly think this movie's very mediocre. I did not agree with it getting a Best Picture nomination at the time. I can see what McKay is going for with this, and I do think some of it is excellent. In the context of Carell, though, I would say yes, because I do think he is one of the best parts of the film. I think when he's on screen, it is endlessly entertaining, and he's one of the few parts of this movie where I feel like he's actually bringing life to it, because I feel like Bale is so committed to being Cheney that, I mean, naturally there's not a lot of enjoyment there. And I mean, I'm no fan of Bush, but goddamn, that movie portrayed him like he was some kind of cartoon character. So Carell was kind of in the middle with Rumsfeld, where it felt real, but it also felt like you were getting the point across of disagreeing with the actions that these guys took in office.
But Chad, what do you say about Vice?
Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. I was on the fence because I was looking at my list and there's a lot on there that I really want to try to get on. But I think Vice does deserve it just because like these other guys really talked me into just how good Steve Carell was at playing like a real life person. Like Christian Bale and everybody as well, Sam Rockwell. But Steve Carell's really good in it, and I just love how they took like a period of history and just like made it like, I mean, because you got to make it funny. Like those people were doing some crazy ass stuff in office, and to basically have his kind of like sarcastic style of humor with kind of Jesse Plemons narrating, and just a lot of really great stuff in the movie that I thought was really really funny. Like a lot of people needed to see just how big of a monster what's his face Dick Cheney actually is. So there you go. Yeah, so Vice, yes.
Aaron, did you say yes or no to Vice?
Yeah. I realized I also criticized the film, but for Carell's performance, I'd say yeah.
Yeah, no, I
He
was just
said, yeah.
no. That was more of a case because I wasn't sure if it was a title and it was on me. But Vice is going to make this list. Yeah, I would have said. Look, I'm Kiwi. I have no idea who Donald Rumsfeld is from what apart from what I've seen in the news. I don't know what he's supposed to be like. I think Steve Carell is fine in the movie, but unfortunately, the movie itself was a big disappointment. I do not like Vice. It was going to be a no for me, but it does make this list.
If it makes you feel better, he's dead now, so you don't have to worry about what he's like.
Steve Carell is still alive. Come
on that no.
No, Rumsfeld.
I do.
On that note, Jacob, what's your next movie?
All right. Well, since Lilo and Stitch is not eligible,
I told you it's the sequel.
Good movie.
Lilo and Stitches.
Stitch Alexander, Lilo Stitch.
I wish it was Lilo and Stitches.
I'll shoot my shot for this one. I'll see how this one goes. I'm gonna go with Welcome to Marwin. Welcome to Marwin, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Steve Carell plays a guy named Mark who was struggling with PTSD after he was beaten by white supremacists about, according to Wikipedia, his fetish for wearing women's shoes. And so he creates dolls and different like action figures to help him cope with his memory loss. And I think he turns in another really good performance here. Like his speech that he gives when in the courtroom, I think that's really good. Like I think he portrays some good emotion in this. I think solid performances all around once again. I don't know why it was I don't understand why it was panned critically. I think this is a really good movie. So I'm gonna shoot my shot for Welcome to Marwin, but I wouldn't be surprised if I was in the minority on this one.
Aaron, what do you say about Welcome to Marwin?
Yeah, this is kind of the other flip side of Vice. I'm gonna say no. I do agree with you that I think Carell is really giving it his all in this. But for me, it's Zemeckis that lets this movie down. Again, the fictional world is brought to life through this obsession that Zemeckis has with trying to do this like photorealistic 3D thing that doesn't really look photorealistic ever. At least in this, they're supposed to be dolls, so it doesn't have to look 100% legit, but it still doesn't look great. And quite honestly, I think for the story that Zemeckis was telling, the movie's not really very sensitive to it, which I think is a really weird approach. Like it feels very haphazard in the way that it portrays it, and specifically so the actual story behind it is he admitted to guys at a bar that he was a cross-dresser and they beat him up for being homophobic. In the movie, it's kind of only addressed as, well, he wears women's shoes, but it's like in real life, no, this was a hate crime essentially, and the movie doesn't really portray it that way, and I think it's really weirdly written on Zemeckis' part. I also just think it's edited really badly. It's a little disjointed at times. It kind of just cuts from thing to thing. This one wasn't for me, but again, Carell, every time he tries, and I really think he tried to bring his best to this role. But it's a no overall.
Chad, what did you say about Welcome to Marwin?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting to hear Barber's take and then Aaron's take there, because two different sides of the coin. I've heard more of the Aaron take, but I haven't seen it, but I have heard. I remember being very excited when I saw the trailer because I was like, this looks like it could be really good, and then I just heard like it's like might be really cringy. So I don't know, but yeah, I can't say anything. I haven't seen it. I want to though. Yeah,
this is I have seen this. I think Welcome to Marwin is fine. It's one of those ones that like I know nothing about the actual story behind all this. When I watched it, but it's like I think Steve Carell's performance in this is good. But the movie itself is just not that good. So I'm also going to say no to this. Brian, what do you say about Welcome to Marwin?
I'm gonna give it a no as well. The movie's not good, but the performance is just okay, so it's no.
Aaron, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah,
Maybe not.
for what it's worth, Jacob, for some reason, me and a group of friends went to see this. I don't know who the fuck picked this movie to go out on a friend's night for, but like
That
when we
is an
left the
odd
theater,
choice.
I didn't like it. Two of them thought it was fine, and one really did like it. So you're certainly not alone. I think it is a very mixed film.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fuck it. I mean, it has a movie coming out this weekend, so I'm gonna go for what I think is probably the best of that franchise and say Despicable Me. I think that Carell legitimately gives a good voice acting performance. For one, I think his voice is transformed enough that if you didn't know it was him, it would be a little more difficult to pick up on. I think he does enough with his voice that it's actually very intriguing, and especially in the modern era where, obviously voice actors do still exist, but a lot of big budget films, it's celebrities sounding like themselves, and he's in a movie where like Miranda Cosgrove sounds like Miranda Cosgrove and whoever the fuck else. But his performance is actually really good. I think the movie's really heartfelt. Like, I think it does a great job at portraying its point of his relationship with these kids and seeing how they affect him. And I also think it has some really great supporting performances. It's one of the few times that Russell Brand doesn't annoy the ever-living hell out of me in a movie. And I also think Jason Segel, it gives another really excellent voice performance to where I didn't know that it was him the first time I saw it. When the credits hit, I was like, who the hell was he? And I had to look it up because, again, he's doing something different with his voice, which I have to appreciate in a film where they really could have just half-assed it. So I'm going to say Despicable Me because I think it's probably his best contribution to animation.
Chad, what do you say about Despicable Me?
Yeah, I saw this a long time ago and I rewatched it for this. I just bought like the trilogy on Blu-ray. Yeah, I absolutely agree with Aaron about his voice work and it being his like best kind of work in animation. Just all around with Gru. But as for films, because I didn't finish the second one. I did see that a long time ago, but I do think this one is better than that one actually. Having seen a majority of both of them, it's a very sweet movie. I think it if it didn't have the relationship between like him and the little girls, I think that's such a really sweet relationship. Like when he's doing the little kitty cat pop-up book is really cute. Like him doing like the committing to this weird kind of like Russian style accent that he does. I think he kills it, like when he like yells in that accent and laughs and just does everything that Gru would do. I think he really brings the character to life. Even though like a lot of later sequels and like Minions movies and stuff kind of drag this one down a little bit in like probably people's rankings, but I think if you revisit it, it's kind of a pretty sweet movie. And the Minions are actually really funny in it too. So yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I really do enjoy Despicable Me. I think the movie itself is really solid. And I do think it's his best voice acting role he's like been in with the sequels with Sandy, because I do enjoy the sequels. I just don't know why they feel the need to try and put Gru into this new Minion spin-off thing. Because if it was just a Minion spin-off and they didn't try to shoehorn Gru in there, I don't know. But that being said, I'm going to go yes on Despicable Me. Brian, what do you say about Despicable Me?
I'm going to yes as well. I love it. His voice in the film always makes me laugh. I love his chemistry with the girls and Minions. And I didn't even know that was Russell Brand in the film until I saw the credits. So yes for me.
And Jacob, what do you say about Despicable Me?
But yeah, I'll give it a yes too for all the reasons that were said. I think this is a great animated movie. I enjoy the sequels. I think they're good. I don't think they quite get to the level of the first one. And even the Minions, I think the Minions are great characters, but they're great side characters. So let's keep them as side characters, please. Let's not give them 3 movies or 2 movies.
Too late.
Movies
Probably
they
get to the
have.
third.
We're making a 4th Despicable Me film, so
Well, good. So they'll be relegated back to side characters, which is where they should be.
But that being said, Despicable Me does make this list. Chad, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Oh yes, it's on me now. Shit. All right. Well, I gotta make sure. I love all of the dramatic
No.
stuff that he's done. I gotta go. Shut up, okay? I gotta go with one of the best like comedic stuff that he's done apart from The Office, and I gotta go with I'll go with the first Anchorman. I think
yes.
Dude, like Anchorman is just like one of those. Like I also really, really, really love the sequel, but I went with the first one because I know that I'm a minority on the sequel front. But the first Anchorman I think is pretty much beloved by most people. It was one of like Adam McKay's like first times out. I think Brick kind of makes the movie a lot of the times. I mean, Ron Burgundy's great, but like Brick just saying like really random shit, like, where'd you get those clothes? The toilet store, and just like all that stuff. It just has the trident and the fight, and they're like, you got to go hide out, Brick, because how'd you get that trident? You killed a man. And there's just so many great stuff with his character specifically, but the movie itself is just so smart and just like really funny, and it really like kind of actually depicts what kind of like sexism in the workplace was back in the 70s. It does a really great job with that. It's hilarious, infinitely quotable. Anchorman is the fucking balls. Boom, Anchorman.
I kind of wish you did bring out the sequel to see what would have happened, but
you can bring it up.
I mean, I might still do that. But yeah, I mean, I like Anchorman. It's probably it definitely is the best, but the number one movie for me that he's been in. My issue with it is that there's not a lot of Brick to go around in this. Just because I'm kind of with Chad, I don't know where the sequel would go. I'm going to give this a slight yes because I do like Brick in this, and I do think one of these should make this list. So yeah, Brian, what do you say about the first Anchorman?
I'm gonna give it a yes. I love Brick. I love his quotes. I love Lamp. Brick, we get hand grenade.
Do you really love the lamp? Just saying that.
So it's a yes for me.
Jacob, what do you say about Anchorman?
Yeah, I'll give it a yes. I know, Steve Carell's not the lead, but he is like one of the better parts of this movie. He's definitely my favorite character. This might just be like his favorite role. Like I think just the way he delivers his lines, I think is just it's great. So yeah, I'll give it a yes.
And Aaron, what would you say about Anchorman?
Well, not that my opinion matters because it made the list.
Let's
I
move
would
on then.
say I would say in terms of the first one, he is definitely the most memorable. Chad, if you think your opinion's the uncommon one, I actually think the second one's a better movie. What the first one has going for it is that it is very quotable. The second one is nowhere near as quotable, but as an actual film and a comedy and the commentary that both these movies were trying to make, I actually do think the second one is much stronger. It helps that it came out at the same time that McKay was making that transition into being more of a drama director. I think it aids the movie. But in terms of being one of the most quotable comedies of all time, I would absolutely agree. I mean, it's what nearly 20 years later, and people can still quote tons of lines from this movie, and about half of them are Bricks. So fair to say that it should make it.
And Brick also sings the high part on Afternoon Delight. So there you go.
That's correct.
And I adore Anchorman too. Maybe a little more than Anchorman. I agree, Aaron.
Hey, when you guys are done, do you guys want to go to a pants party?
What's that?
It's a party with pants.
What time?
You know what? I'm going to follow it up with this because why not? Look, I don't think Anchorman. I'm one of those ones that I still think the first Anchorman is the better movie. But that being said, I really do like Anchorman 2. And the part of the reason I'm bringing it up is I think Brick has a is that I think Brick's role in the sequel is a lot more. There's a lot more Brick in this because he's got his own sort of subplot with his relationship with Kristen Wiig's character. I can't remember her name now.
Johnny
And
last
all
name.
that. And I mean, and Brick just coming out to talk about his memories of himself at his funeral was just like, I'm Brick. I'm alive. It's just entertaining. So this is gonna be interesting now because Brian, what do you say about Anchorman 2?
I give it a yes. I quite enjoyed this film. I mean, the first time we see his character is at his own funeral. I mean, and also the part where they tried to anchor the news saying it's been spider with it's been spider line. So yep, I'll give it a yes for me.
Jacob, what are your thoughts on Anchorman 2?
I haven't seen the sequel yet.
Aaron, what are your thoughts on Anchorman 2?
Well, after all the positive things I said, I'm gonna give it a no. No, I'm kidding. I would say yes. As I just said, I do actually think the sequel is the better movie of the two. It isn't as quotable, and I will absolutely concede that it doesn't have even 10 years on, it doesn't have the quotes that the original one does. But in terms of being a film and kind of executing, because the original one was also trying to be a commentary on sexism in the workplace. But I think that this one is a much better commentary on, I mean, still slightly dealing with sexism, but more just the onset of cable news and the competition within it. I think the characters are better fleshed out. And yeah, Brick has more to do. They definitely took advantage of the fact that Steve Carell was now Steve Carell and kind of upped his role.
Yeah. And Chad, what are your thoughts on Anchorman 2?
That's checkers and cock, Brick. Don't eat that. Yeah, basically, I as much as what I said, I absolutely adore Anchorman 2. I think I love the fact that Adam McKay basically said, "Okay, Anchorman, I'm gonna go Anchorman 2, and it's basically like Gremlins 2: The New Batch. I'm gonna go crazy as fuck with this one now," and that's exactly what they did. Like with Dobie the shark, just like Ron going blind and that whole thing is just amazing.
The whole Anchorman fight at the end.
Yeah, the epic fight at the end. Kanye shows up. I love that they have. Who was it? Robert E. Lee's ghost shows up.
Yeah, that's it. Robert E. Lee.
Stonewall Jackson.
They just Stonewall Jackson's ghost. That's it.
Played by John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
So
they go like super insane with this movie, and it could have failed, but to me, I think it works so hard. I think that might be what doesn't work for a lot of people, but for me, it just really does. Even though I think the first one may be like a little bit sharper. I love that this one goes like balls to the wall insane. And, my friend and I actually, I think, quote this one way more than we quote the first one now, with just I'm blind. So, yeah, Anchorman 2 is a definite yes for me.
But yeah, one movie that's not coming up is the Wake Up Ron Burgundy straight to DVD sequel, which is basically outtakes the movie because that's not good.
Wake Up Ron Burgundy belongs in the same pile of great films that Once Upon a Deadpool went to, where like the third best take of a movie was used.
Yeah, I mean, the only positive thing that I said this on my Letterboxd review, is that the whole bank robbery scene with Amy Poehler was hilarious. The rest wasn't. But Brian, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
I'm going to try to see if this makes or not. I'm going to bring up Evan Almighty. Sequel to Bruce Almighty, this time him taking over the role of Noah's Ark. I mean, I quite enjoy this take of him, his chemistry with the Sykes, how he tried to shave all the time, where it keeps going back, and yep, I'll give it a shot. Evan Almighty.
Jacob, what do you say about Evan Almighty?
I remember enjoying it the first time that I watched it. I don't think it's been Like it came out in 2007, and
Yep.
I probably watched it like 2008, 2009, and I haven't seen it since. And it was one that I was debating on rewatching for this list, but I was like, I don't really feel like rewatching it. I don't remember enjoying it that much. I think it's an interesting take, definitely on the Noah story from the Bible. But I think the character of Evan was better served as a side supporting character in Bruce Almighty, in my opinion. So I'm gonna give it a no.
Aaron, what do you say about Evan Almighty?
Yeah, your last point there, Jacob, is exactly what I feel on this. This is like Cars 2 or Minions, in that it's taking a character that should have stayed a side character and making them the lead. It's not completely devoid of jokes. I do think the fact that they've got a good cast together. I mean, Freeman plays God once again. I think John Goodman's in this thing. Wanda Sykes. Like, it is a good cast. They are trying. But this movie is just it's devoid of any of the charm that the first one had, and that for me includes Carell, who I thought was great in that bit role in the first one. Here, when it's amped up, it just doesn't work for me.
Chad, what do you say about Evan Almighty?
Evan Almighty, now that Brian brought it up, stole that shaving bit from the Santa Claus. Like, no, but anyways, the thing about this movie, yeah, exactly what Aaron and Jacob said, I think holds true for me. When I saw this in the theater, I remember liking it, but like, I just don't really think I had that much of taste then. I was like a kid or whatever. Or more of a kid. I'm still kind of a kid, but even
Aren't we all?
But yeah. Anyways, going off of that, I agree exactly what both of them said, that it's taking the side character and blowing it up. Whereas I even think Bruce Almighty probably should have just stayed one movie. You get no sequels, it's just an interesting concept for like one thing. You don't need to do anything else with it. I don't think that means you can't enjoy the movie, though. I think it was pretty fun concept to expand on, but kind of unnecessary. So yeah, I would say no.
Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy Evan Almighty. I do think it is a good movie, but I didn't have an issue with them doing a sequel. It just seems very random that this. I mean, I used to think it was very random that a random newscaster gets elected to senator easily like that. But then you had a business tycoon become president in real life. It's like, yeah, it's not that weird anymore.
It was actually ahead of its time in that sense.
Yes.
He watched this movie and he was like, I could do that. Bigger.
Damn it! Blame that movie.
But I mean, the weirder thing the weirder thing that I found with that is that God just randomly goes to the Bruce's rival. Is like, oh, I'll give you the powers of God now and make you Noah's. I think this would have worked better if it was a completely new character that they were focusing on, and because Evan was the only connection to that. Evan and Morgan Freeman, they were the only connections to Bruce Almighty that was in this. And I would have liked it more if it was more of an anthology type thing where they go to a different person that's unrelated to anyone in the original movies. Like, I think there was rumors that Bruce was going to have a cameo in this, but Jim didn't want to do it or something like that. But it's going to be a no for me.
Can we
Jacob,
talk about, well, on a different night, I guess, but you could make a whole episode out of sequels to Jim Carrey films that Jim Carrey turned down, probably for a good reason, because he's got far too many.
It's a long title.
Well, I mean, it's one of those ones because for the longest time, Jim was not going to do sequels to his own movies, and then he decided to do Dumb and Dumber 2. I think that was the first sequel to his own movie he actually was in.
Since When Nature Calls.
Maybe I was right.
Right.
That's what I was meaning. Since When Nature Calls, he did not want to do sequels to his own movies. So I think they did want to make a Mask 2 with him in it. Then that's how we got Son of the Mask, Jamie Kennedy. Jacob, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, we're running low on spots, so let me think. Yeah, I'll shoot my shot for this one. I'll go for Battle of the Sexes, with him and Emma Stone
Emma
once
Stone,
again.
yeah.
I'm playing what's his name, Bobby Riggs, and
yeah.
he's playing
Billie Jean.
yeah. See, I can never remember their names, but I remember the movie, and I think the movie was fantastic. It's him in a supporting role, but I think he absolutely kills it in supporting performances. I think he just knocks it out of the park. I think he just gives his all when it's a supporting performance, and that's evident here. I think he played this tennis player really well. He was probably my favorite part of the movie. Emma Stone's fantastic as always because she's Emma Stone and she'll always be fantastic to me. But again, it's just great chemistry between the two of them once again, and I'll shoot my shot for Battle of the Sexes.
Get out of here.
Aaron, what do you?
You can-
that was a very
block people, right,
cold
Malcolm?
take, but
Aaron, what do you say about Battle of the Sexes?
this is one of the few in Carell's career that I'm actually upset I haven't seen because I have heard nothing but great things, but I have not seen it.
Chad, what do you say about Battle of the Sexes?
Yeah, I actually love movies like this. I watched like this and Borg versus McEnroe, like right after the other, and just like tennis movies are just really good for some reason. A lot of the times, and I thought this one in particular was really, really, really well done. Well, and then you got King Richard, but yeah,
King
this one
Richard
was really
slaps.
yeah,
Best
and
tennis
this one
film.
was also really, really, really good. I love the performances from Emma Stone and Carell in this. Carell kind of plays, I don't want to say like a bad guy necessarily, but he really does kind of like embody that, like, it's a man sport kind of thing for a lot of it. But then he plays her. He doesn't let that ego, like, have him not play her and stuff like that. And, she crushes it in this movie as well. It's just a really good one about like, sexism around that time, about women playing and, boycotting and just starting like their own league and stuff like that. Just a very interesting movie. Hopefully I didn't spoil too much for Aaron there. But no, it's a very, very fun movie, very interesting. And a lot of the tennis stuff is like really well shot. I feel like so. Battle of the Sexes for sure.
Yeah, this was one I was going to rewatch for this because it's one of the weird things that's on Disney Plus for me. I don't know, but I didn't. But I do remember enjoying this movie. I think him and Emma Stone have a great camaraderie in this. So I'm going to give this a slight yes as well. Brian, what do you say about Battle of the Sexes?
Haven't seen it.
Jacob, what do you say about Battle of the Sexes?
Since I brought it up,
He
I
likes
will
it.
give it a yes.
It makes less any.
Yeah, and I looked it up. Unfortunately, it's not streaming anywhere at the moment.
I think I might have a screen pass for it. Hit me up later, maybe.
But Aaron, was the next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah. All right. So let's go for something very, very different. Foxcatcher. This might be Carell's best performance. Not just because it's a legitimately good performance, but it's because it is so against type. Even in films where Carell is playing serious or Carell is playing a bit of an asshole, I feel like he always does carry that likability with him. He just seems like such a very naturally likable guy that it's kind of hard to shake. But between the mix of the hair and makeup work done on him to make him look like DuPont was excellent, and the performance is just he is the definition of like a living monster in this thing. He's just such a horrible, manipulative person. And it is even more impressive that somebody who, I mean, he's fresh off of spending, or I guess not totally fresh off of, but coming off of spending years on television as seen as one of the most likable guys there could be in the industry, to turn around and put in this performance, it was absolutely incredible to watch. And then on top of that, you have Mark Ruffalo, who is excellent as always. I think he's one of the most underrated actors today. And Channing Tatum, honestly, also giving the best performance of his career. Really, like, on the surface, it seems like he's really out of his depth in this movie, but I think he holds up well for having never done something like this. And it really is. I mean, it's well directed and well written, but it's those three performances make this movie an excellent film from that year. And a year in 2014 where there were a lot of great films that I think still hold up. Foxcatcher is also excellent.
Chad, what do you say about Foxcatcher?
Yeah, I loved Foxcatcher. I will throw out and say I think Channing Tatum and Logan Lucky kind of rivals it a little bit because he's really fantastic in that. Yeah, just like what Aaron was saying, like just like Steve Carell's performance in this one is next level. I do think he is like one of the best things he ever did was Michael Scott, and I think that is probably his best overall performance because he had so much time as that character. But this one, it definitely like rivals it in just one movie. The makeup that they did, all that stuff. This is basically him being like I don't know if he went meta for this or anything, but this is kind of like him pulling like a Daniel Day-Lewis or Christian Bale or something like that, going full makeup to like look like another person or character or whatever. But yeah, he plays this so subtle with like that like raspy voice and, just like the manipulation, like Aaron said, just like he just totally seems like a different person. Like every other Carell, other than maybe Despicable Me, and even in that, a lot of the times you can hear that like inflection in his voice that you're like, that's Steve Carell. And this one, you can't really tell that it's Steve Carell. And it's so good. And like Aaron said, I don't want to spoil like anything if you don't know the history, but it's a very, very good movie with a really good story to it. That's kind of it's a tragedy, but that's all I'll say. Dark. But it gets dark for sure. This is the first time that I actually went like, wait, Channing Tatum is a good actor. I didn't know that. So yeah, this one definitely turned me on to Channing Tatum, and then Mark Ruffalo definitely kills it as well in this. So I just wanted to mirror all of those points. Foxcatcher's for sure a yes for me.
I watched Foxcatcher specifically for this list because I had the feeling it was going to come up eventually. I think it was a good movie. When it comes to like sport movies and all that, I don't gravitate them to a lot. But this is one that I really enjoyed watching. I think it was good. I think Steve Carell puts on a really good performance in this. There's a reason he got nominated for an Oscar for this. I mean, I think he probably should have won over Eddie Redmayne, but I know there's the big debate of Eddie Redmayne and Michael Keaton, but I think Steve Carell should have won over both of them.
I think anyone, even the ones not nominated, could have won over Eddie Redmayne, and we'd all go, yeah.
Brian, what do you say about Foxcatcher?
I'm giving it a yes. It's as Chad Aaron says, best performance to date. The dramatic turn from a great comedic character to a great dramatic character. So yes for me.
And Jacob, what do you say about Foxcatcher?
Yeah, this is one that was high up on my watch list for this. It was between this and Beautiful Boy as to which one I was more interested in seeing. But since Beautiful Boy was available on streaming and this one wasn't, I watched Beautiful Boy instead. So I unfortunately was not able to watch it for this episode.
I mean, ironically, it was available for streaming for me. It's on New Zealand Netflix.
Right. Here, just rub it in.
Get out the VPN, boys. Let's go.
Get a VPN. I was just about to say.
That sounds dirty.
I mean, everyone says that to me. I personally don't trust VPNs myself. But anyway, we've got one spot left. Chad, we're on you.
All right. I'm going to throw one on there that I don't think is going to make it because I don't know how many people have actually seen this movie. But I saw this in theaters. It was like back when I was like going to like, indie theaters to like see like all the indie movies. And this is from one of my favorite directors of all time. Richard Linklater, and I freaking love Richard Linklater. He did this one. It's Last Flag Flying. Reason I'm bringing this up is because I think this is an excellent movie that more people need to see. Even though I don't think it's going to make it on, I think it might be my Welcome to Marwin, just maybe a better version of it. But yeah, I want to see where this goes, see if maybe people have seen it. And then if not, at least, wake people up to actually see this one a little more. But yeah, this one is basically about like 3 former, I don't know the proper terms, so I apologize if I offend anybody, former military vets,
Veteran.
that one of them, I believe it is Steve Carell's character, lost his only son in the Iraq war. And so he goes to some of his former friends from the military, Bryan Cranston and Larry Fishburne. Yeah, I call him Larry. They basically accompany him to go pick up the body of his son, and then they just have like this really like a lot of deep conversations and stuff like that. I feel like there's like a big commentary on war and the military in general, and I'm like kind of all about that a lot of the times. I just think it's a super well done, great drama directed by Richard Linklater. So Last Flag Flying, highly recommend.
I have not seen it. Brian, what do you say about Last Flag Flying?
Never heard of it. Haven't seen it.
Jacob, what do you say about Last Flag Flying?
Have heard of it. Have not seen it.
Aaron, what do you say about Last Flag Flying?
Sorry, buddy, haven't seen it.
Hey, that's why I had that long-winded thing about why had no one seen it. Check it out; it's great.
Apparently, it's on Amazon Prime. It's not on Amazon Prime for me, but
I believe in the U.S., Amazon distributed it. That's why.
Yeah.
It is. So I do know this about the movie. What Steven said is true. So it's not a perfect sequel, but it is an adaptation of a book, which was a sequel to a book called The Last Detail. And that had a movie adaptation in the 70s starring Jack Nicholson. It's not perfect. I don't remember which one it is, but one of the 2 movies changed some of the names of the characters, but they're both about a trio of, in the first one, they're in the military, and in the second one, they're veterans, but it's 2 white guys and a black guy. And it is basically the same story. It's a continuation of the same story.
Oh, the more you know.
So
thanks.
If it makes you interested, there's a first one, technically.
But anyway, for my next nomination, I've seen this popping up in the chat a lot. I decided not to be it. No, I'm going to do it because I really do like The Way Back. I think The Way Back is a really fun movie. It's been a while since I've seen it. I was going to actually rewatch for this, but I didn't. I think it's a good movie. And yeah, Steve Carell plays Trent, and yeah, I don't remember a lot about the movie. I'm not going to try to pretend I do. I do remember enjoying it. Brian, what do you say about The Way Back?
Haven't seen this one.
Jacob, what do you say about The Way Back?
I haven't seen this one either.
Aaron, what do you say about The Way Back?
This is interesting. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to plug. I have a show, for anyone who doesn't know, called Movie Battleground. Check it out over on TNT Entertainment.
Yeah, I was a judge
and
in this one.
In an episode that has yet to be released, this comes up in a debate. And while I do enjoy this movie, after listening to the debate and listening to kind of some of the takedowns of it, I found myself agreeing with a lot of it. I do think Carell has a good performance, but I think it's far from the best of his career. I do think it is a shift away from what we normally see him as, but I don't think it's the furthest shift either. I think it is a little closer to kind of Carell as we assume him. And I do think when it comes to being a coming-of-age story, while it is a good film, I do think it is kind of a very generic version of that. I think this is a movie that is carried by good performances, but in terms of what's left on his filmography, for me at least, I think there are movies that are carried by the performances where the movie itself is stronger. So I'm actually going to say no.
Well, Muted, Malcolm.
I think you're muted, Malcolm.
I think
If
he was
that,
asking Chad what he
if that
thinks.
doesn't make the list, Ted, what would you have said about the movie?
Yeah, I absolutely really love the way back. That being said, I hear the critiques. I've only seen it once a long time ago, but I remember really loving it. I think I was on the I was on the other side of this debate in the movie Battleground, where I really liked all the things that the person who was voting for it, speaking for it, said. That I think Steve Carell does play this like kind of vicious, toxic.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, I was a judge, dude. I said that. I was a vicious, toxic human being, but he does like kind of drive the plot forward, and he is that guy that you just really hate. But I feel like there's a lot of people that are like that, and maybe it doesn't show like there's like other sides to him. But a lot of the times when you're a kid and you're seeing, your mom and like someone she's with fight, you're probably not going to see that other side if there is another side to that person. But anyways, I think Stephen Carell is really great in the film, but as a like coming of age story, I think it really does work because you have his family or his like parentage over there kind of like fighting. It's really toxic and you want to kind of get away from it. So he finds refuge in this like water park, and you got Sam Rockwell being really, really awesome. Toni Collette's his mom, I believe, right? And she's really fantastic. I just really adored this movie, and I would have said yes because I love it. But I really want to check it out again.
But Brian, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
I'm going to bring up 2008's Get Smart, a performance of based on a TV show with Steve Carell as the main character. It's a great performance from him. His chemistry with Anne Hathaway, his chemistry with The Rock and Alan Arkin's great. So yep, Get Smart's my pick.
Jacob, what do you say about Get Smart?
Oh, this one's tough because on my personal list, I have a movie higher than this, but both are in my personal top 12 for Steve Carell because I do think this is a fun movie. I think it's a fun spy comedy with some good laughs in there. So I'm gonna say no just because I have a movie on my personal list higher, but if it makes the list, I'm not gonna be upset.
Aaron, what do you say about Get Smart?
I'm also going to go with no. I do think the movie is entertaining, but it's a spy parody, and I think it's one of those where it's a really oddly specific genre where there's a lot of examples of movies within that genre, and I think it's kind of, no matter what angle you approach it from, I think it's a film that's topped, and it kind of comes out for me looking a little mediocre.
Chad, what do you say about Get Smart?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Barbara and Aaron there. I think just because I don't know. I mean, I remember seeing this and like I think it was probably like a really interesting turn for Carell in his to see if he could pull off these kind of roles, and it was probably really fun. But I feel like the TV show is probably way better, even though I haven't seen the TV show. And I feel like there's maybe a reason why Carell doesn't do much like action nowadays. But I'd be interested in checking this out again. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I'd give it a slight no.
Yeah, I actually, I'm actually in the same boat as Jacob here. Like, I really it was my personal top 12 as well. But I do have a movie that's slightly higher than it. But I will say, and the Get Smart's not made on the list anyway. It's already gotten a lot of enough no's. But I will say, Steve Carell does a good job of being bringing to light the same characteristics.
There you go.
Yeah, that Don Adams brought to the role in the TV series. I think it was a perfect sort of recreation of what Don Adams did as Maxwell Smart in the show. So on that note, I think it was a faithful as a TV adaptation to a movie gets these days. I think it worked. But Jacob, we go to you. What's your next movie you're going to bring up?
Yeah, so I'll go with the one I just have slightly higher in it, and that's Dan in Real Life. I think this is a really solid movie. Steve Carell plays Dan, an advice columnist, but unfortunately, like while he can give the good advice, maybe he needs to listen to his own advice because his family life he struggles. But he plays that really well. They're going the movie. They're going to a family gathering where on the way Dan meets someone, and that someone just happens to be his brother's girlfriend. And the brother played by Dane Cook, and I think Dane Cook in this movie is actually really good as well. I think he gives a solid performance. And yeah, this is just it's a good performance by Steve Carell. Great cast around him. I think just that the whole family life of a single parent is portrayed really well. Kind of, your kids don't like you, but that's to be expected when you're raising teenage girls. I've seen that firsthand, coming from a family of a divorce, and just kind of, sometimes I didn't like my parents either. And I think this captured that pretty well. I enjoy the performances all around. It's not a rewatchable one, but it is I think it's not one that gets brought up a lot when you mention Steve Carell. But I think it should be, because I think it's just a really solid movie. And he sings in it. Who doesn't want Steve Carell to sing to them?
Aaron, what do you say about Dan in Real Life?
This is one of the ones where, when I was talking about, I've said it a couple times, Carell has a lot of films that I think are fine, that they're elevated by the performances. I would say this one is one of them. For starters, this movie feels a little bit like what might have in part been the inspiration for Despicable Me, the idea that he's a single father raising 3 girls. Like, obviously in execution, they're very different, but in concept, it's kind of the same thing. Even in the sequel, they follow it up with him meeting someone and falling in love. But yeah, I think this is a very solid movie. It's an early role for Steve Carell, kind of in terms of being a leading actor. But I think he makes it work. And I mean, as somebody who's a fan of Frasier, who doesn't love John Mahoney showing up in things? Rest in peace to that guy.
Chad, what do you say about Dan in Real Life?
I did see this back when it came out, and I barely remember anything about it. So it's kind of like a vague memory. All I just remember is working at Blockbuster and just seeing Steve Carell's face on a stack of pancakes for a very long time. Other than that, I don't remember much about the movie other than what Barbara was saying about it. So I just really can't give an accurate opinion of if I think it deserves to be on the list or not. So I'm going to give it a slight no just for that.
Yeah, I haven't seen Dan in Real Life. So with 2 yeses and 2 no's,
I
Brian.
didn't go. So I'll give it no
Well,
for me.
I was about to say, Brian, what do you say about Dan in Real Life?
Let him host the show, man.
All I know is it's pancakes. That's all I know from the film. So no for me.
Oh,
Thanks for that, Brian.
came in like he was about to be heroic with the save, and he's just like, nah, pancakes.
Not
But
myself.
with that being said, Aaron, we go to you for your next nomination.
All right. Well,
Dang.
so either I nominate this movie or a Despicable Me sequel, so I guess I'll go with this one. I don't know if anybody's seen this movie, but I'm gonna go with a movie called Hope Springs. It's basically, to kind of give the quick pitch of what it is. Steve Carell he's a supporting character in this, but he plays a psychiatrist to Meryl Streep and Tommy Lee Jones, who are a long-standing married couple who are marital issues isn't really that's not the right term for it. It's more just kind of the aging of the marriage. They've lost the spark and they're trying to find ways to get it back. For me, why this stands out is because I feel like obviously Carell had a lot of great comedies early on, and he had one or two early on roles where he had to take things a little more serious. Little Miss Sunshine, moments in 40-Year-Old Virgin, I think, are played very seriously because that's what Judd Apatow does. But this is the first real dramatic performance of his career where I think we're seeing him basically have to play one-on-one in a lot of scenes with the likes of Meryl Streep and Tommy Lee Jones, who does look like he cares in this movie. And he is holding his own against them. I think he gives a really, really great performance in this. And also just the idea of like seeing two screen legends in Meryl Streep and Tommy Lee Jones have to like do the awkward teenage thing of trying to be sexual in a movie theater. Like the movie sets itself up very naturally for these set pieces that I think really play off well. So that would be my nomination.
So apparently, Dan in Real Life's on Disney Plus. It is not for me.
For me, it is.
Which means it will probably come on Disney Plus for me eventually. Chad, what do you say about Hope Springs?
Yeah, no, I saw this when like kind of scrolling through and trying to make a list of things to watch, like gaps to fill for Steve Carell. I really, really tried this time so that I can not say I haven't seen it every single time. This time I am going to say I haven't seen it. That's just one I didn't really gravitate to check out, even though it does have a really a decent rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I take that into account sometimes when I'm like, I'll check that one out over this. But I also do need to fill a lot of Meryl Streep gaps, so I might need to check this one out. But yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't weigh in.
Yeah, I think I've seen Hope Springs. But I don't remember it, so I'm going to say no. But it's definitely one that I will try and find at some stage, just to actually say I have seen it. Brian, have you seen Hope Springs?
I've always seen the trailer for this. That's all. So no.
Jacob, what do you say about Hope Springs?
I want to give it a yes just for who's involved, but having not seen it, I can't do that.
Could lie.
All right, should have gone with the Despicable Me sequel.
Chad, we go back to you.
There's a couple more that we could go to before the Despicable Me sequels.
Chad, we go back to you for your next nomination.
Yeah, I'm going to go with one I did actually see for this. It was just one that kind of seemed kind of interesting, and I think it was like really available streaming. So I checked it out. It's Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. It's him, and I just watched this. Who's the girl? Oh, it's Keira Knightley. Yeah. This one, I don't know if it's a great movie, but I really think their performances are really great. I think the relationship really, really works in this. It kind of had, and this might not actually be a sales point for this for a lot of people, but it had a lot of Don't Look Up vibes without all of the political commentary. It's just about it. It's the one that came first, where it's like, the world's ending. What are you going to do? I want to find someone to end the world with, because, it's really sad that it's going to happen. We know it's going to happen. It's inevitable. But basically I got to find someone to share this with, else I'm just going to die alone. And that's really, really scary. And I really think that they really kind of like knocked it out of the park with certain elements of the film. I also thought it was pretty hilarious when they go to a restaurant and you got TJ Miller and other people just like being like, the world's ending, so fuck it. We just do whatever we want here at this this random restaurant. And so there's some funny bits in it. And I think this movie is a pretty sweet one. I would never think that Steve Carell and Keira Knightley would work. And it really actually does for me. I thought this was a very sweet movie. So I nominate this one.
I'll take your word for it. It's a good movie, but I haven't seen it. Brian, what do you say about Seeking a Friend for the End of the World?
I haven't seen it either.
Jacob's Chair, what do you say about Seeking a Friend for the End of the World?
My chair's probably seen it, but I haven't.
Damn.
Aaron, what do you say about Seeking a Friend for the End of the World?
It's okay, Chad. I have seen this movie, and I'd agree with your assessment. It's fine. Again, it's another example of like Carell gives his all every time, and it does elevate the movie at points. And I actually never thought of it that way, but I do think you're right. This movie feels like if you took the last like 25 minutes of Don't Look Up, the part where they're like past the politics and trying to save the world, I mean, it's just, yeah, we're all gonna fucking die, but like make that a whole movie and kind of focus on, you know, the idea of building a relationship that matters, even if you don't have the time left. It's about the experience, which I think is really interesting. But yeah, it's solid. It's all right.
With Crazy Stupid Love, this one was another one that's in the Steve Carell, I'm going to be a sad boy now, period.
All right. Let's see if people have seen this one. I'm going to bring up the one that I had higher than Get Some Out, and that's Date Night. I think Steve Carell and Tina Fey, I think, have great chemistry in this. I think this is one of those ones I think is a really great movie that works a lot, because basically the plot of this movie is they steal someone else's reservations, and then they thought they were a I think it's bank robbers or something like that, or that.
So.
But yeah, it's something like that anyway. But it's this whole comedy of errors type things where they get mistaken for someone else, who coincidentally is James Franco and Mila Kunis. But this is just a fun story. I think this was a great movie. I rewatched it for this, and I think it moves up higher up on my Steve Carell list actually, because I forgot how funny it actually was. So Date Night. Let's see if anyone's seen it. Brian, what do you say about Date Night?
I have seen it. It's a yes for me.
Jacob, what do you say about Date Night?
Yeah, no, I remember watching this one time. I haven't gone back to it, but so like I was trying to like refresh myself on the Wikipedia page, and yeah, I forgot like how you know, how much of a good cast this was. Like just everyone involved. Like there's some good people involved in this. You know, Ray Liotta's got an uncredited cameo. Rest in peace. I'm looking at this. Like, yeah, I want to go back to this. A great soundtrack, it looks like. I'm not sure why I didn't revisit it for this. So you know, I think just to avoid having to put a Despicable Me sequel on the list,
we were reaching that point.
I'll say yes.
And with that, it makes the list. Aaron, what would you have said about Date Night?
To be honest, I was going to say yes for the exact same reason. I think this movie's fine. I think its biggest issue, it does have a really talented cast. For me, its biggest issue is it's this like, it's a movie that I feel like we've seen a lot since, and I don't know if it was like one of the first to do it or if it's just a case of I can't offhand remember earlier examples, but it's like this couple in a relationship go on a date, and oh no, now they're in an action movie. Netflix had one not that long ago with wasn't it Kumail Nanjiani?
Lovebird.
Yeah, Lovebird. Thank you. So there's been a few different types of movies like this. My biggest issue with this movie is I don't think it meshes well. I feel like the action and the rom-com part and the action part don't mesh really well. And I do think that's down to the fact that at the time Sean Levy had never done an action film, and I don't think it's a great first attempt. I feel like if he made this movie now with the likes of Stranger Things and Free Guy and The Adam Project under his belt, I think he has really improved his action direction. I think this movie could work a lot better because in concept and with talent, it is a good idea.
Chad, what would you have said about Date Night?
Yeah, I do remember seeing this in the theater, and I remember it being very funny, in my opinion. I don't remember exactly how it holds up as a whole film packaged, but I remember Carell and Faye having like really great chemistry. I remember it having, unless I'm mixing this up, I think this is the same movie, like having some really like funny like moments with like cars.
Oh yeah, the car chase.
Yeah, it was like really well done and funny. And I remember just this movie being like really funny just because they were so good together. And now I kind of want another movie with Carell and Faye in it. But yeah, no, I would have said yes because I think this is, from what I remember, a funny movie that I actually want to revisit.
But with that being said, we've reached the end. And the trail movies I have on this list: 40-Year-Old Virgin, Crazy Stupid Love, The Big Short, Little Miss Sunshine, Beautiful Boy, Vice, Despicable Me, Anchorman, Anchorman 2, Battle of the Sexes, Foxcatcher, and Date Night. Brian, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Sure, I had Dinner for Schmucks, Bewitched, Bruce Almighty, the two Despicable Me films, and Alexander Terrible, No Good, Very Bad Day.
Jacob, what honorable mentions did you have?
Yeah, I also had Alexander and the very long title. Dinner for Schmucks. I think Steve Carell is absolutely the best part of that movie. I think he absolutely kills it. Those are the two. I had Bruce Almighty, but that was going to be like a last ditch effort if we needed to get a movie on, because he's really good supporting. But I mean, that's about it.
Yeah. Aaron, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Yeah, I had basically the rest of Carell's mediocre animation filmography. Both Despicable Me sequels are fine. Horton Hears a Who is fine.
Oh, yeah, I forgot what that was.
And
What
I
else is
also I also would have said for what it is and the fact that it's like an adaptation of like a book that's like 13 pages long. Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Fucking Awful title is a solid movie for what they're trying to do. It's a horrible title. Why would they, like, I get for a book, but it's a movie. Why would you? No.
Tell that to Borat.
Because Alexander's
other.
Yeah, but at least Borat's Borat. If I called this movie Alexander, we'll be looking for Oliver Stone glistening Colin Farrell up with some fucking, like, butter. Like baby oil. That's what it is. It's not butter. We're not cooking it.
But Chad, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Well, I'll say thank God they didn't. They shortened Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption to just the Shawshank Redemption. There you go. Thank you, Frank Darabont, whoever. But I had Bruce Almighty on there as well because I do think Steve Carell is one of the best parts of that movie. I love his scene in there, and it's hysterical. And then please see Last Flag Flying because that's a great movie. But that's really all I had. Do it.
Okay.
I mean, for me, some I'll mention that haven't been said. I actually do enjoy what he did in Melinda and Melinda. I think it was a really small part, but I think he was good in it. I actually quite like him as Uncle Arthur in Bewitched as well. And just to finish off talking about the rest of his animation, I think he was great in Over the Hedge. I think he did.
Oh, yeah.
He is in that.
Oh yeah, don't sleep on Hammy.
Yeah. And say what you want about the movie. I think he was entertaining in The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, even though that movie wasn't that good. I think Steve Carell was good in it. But with that being said, oh look, the naked bots are here.
It's about time.
Fuck yeah, hit me up, naked bots. Let's go. I got nothing to do after this.
But with that being said, now we get to the fun part of actually ranking these. Brian, what do you have for 12?
Just because I haven't seen it, Beautiful Boy.
Jacob.
No. Anchorman 2.
Aaron.
Eventually.
So after the last time I was on this show and I continuously voted for things I hadn't seen, I've just decided that if I haven't seen it, I'm not going to give an opinion on it and let it fall where it be. That said, it's the only film on this list where I actually don't like most of the film. Vice.
Chad.
I'll go Beautiful Boy in this one.
I also went Vice. So Jacob, I think I know where it's going to go, but Beautiful Boy or Vice, which one's the big
It's Vice. It's Vice. Beautiful Boy is top 4, guys. Come on.
Nice.
I don't know why I erased my board either.
This is a stacked list, though. There's a lot of great movies on here.
It is.
But Jacob, what do you have for 11?
I'm sticking with Anchorman 2.
Aaron, what do you have for 11?
Well, I was writing Date Night, but it took me too long.
Chad, what do you have for 11?
I didn't read anything. I'm gonna go with Date Night as well.
I'm going to go with Battle of the Sexes. Brian, what do you have for 11?
Big Short.
Jacob. Oh, you went.
No, Anchorman
They
2.
Anchorman
not
2.
it's going to be 11.
All right, quicker this time.
Let's see how long I can go without changing my answer.
Aaron, what do you have for 10?
Despicable Me.
Chad.
I'm gonna keep piggybacking off of Aaron. I'm gonna say Despicable Me as well.
Battle of the Sexes. Brian.
Same as before, Big Short.
Jacob.
Anchorman 2.
Chad, do you want to just gang up and rule this list if they're not going to?
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, you have to vote first this time now, Chad. So
Yeah.
True. Exactly. All right, so listen up, Aaron.
I got you. I got you with the support vote. Let's do this.
I'm
Sounds like
gonna
a
go. I'm gonna go Beautiful Boy. I think 9's a good spot for that one.
I'm going to go Battle of the Sexes. Brian, what do you have for 9?
Same. The Racing Board, Big Short.
Jacob.
hold on, I didn't write it down yet.
Not
'cause
Beautiful Boy.
I would no. I'll go with Battle of the Sexes as well. I think 9's a good place for it.
Aaron.
You know what? I haven't seen it, so I don't really care to judge. But I wrote Anchorman 2 to go with Jacob. So you know what? Solidarity.
Ooh.
That Battle of the Sexes is good.
Sorry, Chad. I already made my rules, so I got you on the next one.
Sounds like a future teammate in the Teams League.
I'm all full up. I'm taking.
I wouldn't
Sure
want to
he
fill
is
you up
too.
anymore.
Aaron, it's me and you this time.
That's even if I like this one more, I'll concede the other one is more beloved.
But that being said, I'm going to go Foxcatcher. Brian, what do you have at 8?
Same as before, Big Short.
Jacob.
Anchorman 2.
Aaron.
Brian, I would put that eraser away, buddy.
And Chad.
I'm angry about Anchorman 2 being the slow, but I'm gonna go Beautiful Boy.
Anchorman 2 is going to be at 8. I mean, to be fair, you could have chosen to tie it and put it to some of the time.
I like those other 2 movies as well. A lot.
Brian, what do you have for 7?
Foxcatcher.
Jacob.
I also went Foxcatcher.
Aaron.
Now here's where the panel hates me. Anchorman.
Chad.
Really?
No, Beautiful Boy. I'm gonna stay there
Foxcatcher.
because I knew that was gonna happen.
What's left?
So what we have left, we've got 40-Year-Old Virgin, Crazy Stupid Love, The Big Short, Little Miss Sunshine, Beautiful Boy, and Anchorman. Jacob, what do you have for 6?
I went Anchorman.
Aaron.
Sorry, guys.
Chad.
I'm gonna stick Beautiful Boy.
I went 40-Year-Old Virgin. Brian.
Beautiful Boy.
Malcolm decides.
Do the
Yes.
right, Malcolm.
It pays me to put one of these as slow. But I'm going to go against my own personal number 1 just because he's a supporting role.
Also, Chad, I would watch what you say, man. I wouldn't stick with beautiful boys.
What?
Oh,
You
What
said
if
I'm
I
gonna
like
stick
them?
with beautiful boys.
But what if I like them?
It's illegal.
Oh, like actual boys. Gotcha. Okay.
But Aaron, what do you have at 5?
Okay. Out of what's left, sorry, I didn't write anything. I was too busy making that joke.
What are you doing to me, man?
I'll probably go with The Big Short.
Chad.
I'm writing now. I wrote 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I've also got 40-Year-Old Virgin. Brian.
beautiful boy.
Jacob.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
It's the better movie, DS.
Good place for it.
Despicable Me is Illumination's best film at a 7 out of 10 for a 6
And
out of
buddy,
10.
enough of that time.
Let's calm down.
Okay.
Wait, what made it?
The 40-year-old
That was 40.
Virgin.
Okay.
So we got 4 left.
Hey, so it worked, Jacob. You made it.
There you go. Yep, top 4.
Yeah, well, I think I gotta put this one here.
I think it's a tad high, but it is what it is.
I think you're a tad high.
I'm not. I'm sober.
So just to recap,
Well, I mean, I am drinking, so it.
Just to recap what we've got left, we've got Crazy Stupid Love, The Big Short, Little Miss Sunshine, and Beautiful Boy. Chad, what do you have it for?
Beautiful boy.
I've got The Big Short. Brian.
Beautiful boy.
Jacob.
I've got The Big Short.
Aaron.
The Big Short.
Interesting. The top 4 I can't be angry at, but that's a damn good movie.
It is. I feel like out of what's left, he has the smallest part in it, though.
He's like in the whole
Compared to
movie.
being a lead in the other films.
He's like in the whole movie, pretty much. The Big Short, though.
I mean, when it comes to ensembles, it's one of those tricky ones.
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
one.
it is a big ensemble. Yeah.
I will say I'm only an hour and 20 minutes into it, like I said earlier, but he has been my favorite part of the movie so far.
But Chad, what do you have for 3?
I didn't write anything, but for 3, I have to go Beautiful Boy out of the 3 that are left.
I've got Crazy Stupid Love. Brian.
Same with Chad. Beautiful boy.
Jacob.
Yeah, I've just seen the other 2 more, so I think 3 is a good spot for Beautiful Boy.
Aaron.
I, with absolute confidence, wrote Little Miss Sunshine.
How dare you? Hey, and you misspelled it? How dare you?
Well, I haven't seen Beautiful Boy, so it's in my top 2 technically.
But instead of
I wrote my
instead of
number
putting
1.
in number 2.
Oh,
we
right.
put number 1. Brian, what do you have for number 1?
Crazy Stupid Love.
Jacob, what do you have for number 1?
I also have Crazy Stupid Love.
Aaron, what do you have for number 1?
I love these both equally, so I'm gonna flip the script. Little Miss Sunshine, spelled correctly.
Chad, what do you have for number 1?
You guys aren't surprised with this one. Little Miss Sunshine. Sunshine.
I've got one of those.
Well, yeah, obviously.
I've got Little Miss Sunshine.
Yes. It's the correct
Well
one.
done, Malcolm. You wrote one of the 2 movies left.
It's a good top 2, though. I
Hey,
like
I'm not mad at it.
Not top
I could
3.
go either way.
Good top 5.
Good top 3.
What's 4 and 5? No, not top 3.
Top 3 is fantastic. Top 3 is, dare I say, beautiful.
Yeah. Little crazy beautiful.
But with
Stupid.
But with that being said, just to recap our top 12 Steve Carell movies. At 12, we've got Vice. At 11, we've got Date Night. At 10, we've got Despicable Me. At 9, we've got Battle of the Sexes. At 8, we've got Anchorman 2. At 7, we've got Foxcatcher. At 6, we've got Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy. At 5, we've got the 40-year-old version. At 4, we've got The Big Short. At 3, we've got Beautiful Boy. At 2, we've got Crazy Stupid Love. And number 1, we've got Little Miss Sunshine. Over on the Take View page now, I've got the poll for what you want next week's topic to be. But I disagree with your take on Anchorman 2, Diaz. But
What do you say?
Brian,
Bring it back up. I need to roast him. Bring him back up.
What?
I don't think
Anchorman 2 only has a great scene in a series of mediocre scenes. Diaz, you're a mediocre scene in a series of great scenes. All right, let's.
But yeah, no, I think
Wow.
I'm trying to find this comment earlier when we were talking about it, but
Why say many words when few words do trick? I think that's what Chris is going for.
yeah. Yeah, so the one great scene he thinks it is a family dinner scene.
I think the fight scene's the best scene.
I think it's the better news fight out of the two, but that being said,
Will Smith slapping everybody.
Brian, we can people
That aged perfect.
That's Anchorman 3.
Sure. Finally, doing trivia most of the time. Sometimes on GPO's channel where he brings it back. Be Richie most of the time. Sometimes on here. Sometimes
But not me.
No, because you're the champion. That's why. Judging mostly movie battleground matches. I was on Chad's show last week. Draft for Tom Hanks films. Doing trivia on the Funny Con Network. Sometimes the Movie Hero. I'm in the TNG Geek Tournament with Brandon. We have a match next week filming against the Movie Hero. So and most of the Movie Hero Network. That's where you can find me.
Jacob, where can people find you online?
Oh, you can catch me right here watching this great match between the Usos and the Street Profits at Money in the Bank. This has been a fantastic match, and I'm sorry I can't hear the commentary on it, but man, this match has been great. Anyway, online you can catch me over on the Movie Hero Network. I do a podcast about movies with Austin Howell. We're going Monday actually this week because we're going to talk about the Jurassic Park franchise as a whole, all 6 movies. And then you can catch me on the Lonely Marks podcast talking about wrestling. We just did an episode last night covering Forbidden Door, which is easily the best show of the year so far. So if you're disputing that, you're wrong. It's fact, not opinion.
Severance exists.
No, I'm a wrestling show. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha.
Best wrestling show of the year so far. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
And I presume you're going to be reviewing Money in the Bank this week.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's been a pretty decent show. I mean, I've been enjoying what I've been watching.
But Aaron, where can people find you online?
Mostly over at TMG Entertainment. I produce and run a show called Movie Battleground, where all 4 of these guys are currently active competitors. It's a movie debate topics, a mix of what they want to talk about and what I force upon them. And we have the show, because of personal reasons, the show has been a little inconsistent recently, but I'm working out the kinks to get that back on a schedule. So look forward to matches coming out weekly.
Chad,
I am the best 0-2 player in that league, by the way. Just putting that out there.
Hell
you can have that one, buddy.
I got to take something.
Chad, we can people find you online.
Yeah, I'm actually doing quite a bit, but I'm going to try to keep it brief. The biggest thing that I have to promote is my show I do with my buddy Dylan Randazzo over on the Dill Pickle Movie Network, over on the YouTubes. We basically, it's called Picture This, is the show that we do. We go through a year, every month we go through a year of Best Picture nominees and winners. We talk about the ceremony, the movies themselves. We rank them. We talk about the actors and actresses from that year. This month we're doing 2001, and it's our first series we're doing. We're doing 01, 02, and 03, all Lord of the Rings, and the other movies of that year to see if Lord of the Rings were the best of them or maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, we have fun doing that over there. He does a lot of other great stuff, as Brian mentioned. He does Draft Day, which is a lot of really fun, like drafting different things from different topics and stuff. We just did Tom Hanks and Star Wars and stuff like that. He does do an MCU only trivia now, which is really fun. Brian's been on that. Yeah, it's really fun. Thanks for saying the name of the show. I'm also very, very active over in the Movie Battleground. This guy does a really great job at running that, and I super enjoy competing in there. It's super fun. I do trivia all around. The one other big thing that I wanted to mention is that I am a co-host, guy where we just talk about new stuff in horror. Welcome to Primetime over the Nerd Entertainment Network with Hunter Chambliss. Myself and my wife Carrie chat with Hunter a lot over there. We have a really good time. This Sunday we're doing Stranger Things season 4. We just did the Fear Street trilogy, and then I think next week we're probably going to do like a Midnight Mass because that's a super underrated, underseen show on Netflix by Mike Flanagan, one of my favorite directors. So I've went on long enough. Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, everybody. This was very fun.
Yeah, talking about the MCU trivia, you can find me compete. I believe it's dropping this week.
About that. I'm so sorry.
Taking on this guy.
The Big Short.
No, Diaz, but
I would take that as a nickname, the Big Short.
But you can also find me on Rankin every week, hosting Rankin every week. Next week's topic is looking like it's probably going to be Carl Urban, which is kind of surprising. That's the one that's leading at the moment. And the quick answer to your picture this question: yes, Lord of the Rings is better, but I might be slightly biased on that.
Maybe a little.
You did make them.
But you can also find me hosting random over on Full Metal. And this week is going to be Star Trek The Next Generation happening tomorrow, as well as Hawaii Five-0 happening on Monday. So, yeah. But until next week, keep listening shit.